This is Computer Insider, Canada's award-winning television series with Bob Pritchard. This week on Computer Insider, we look at a software package that takes engineering drawings and renders them into video animations, which can be merged with photographs and other backgrounds. Later, we look at relational databases. This week on Computer Insider. Computer Insider is brought to you by AST Computer. You'll like the way we work. Sharp Electronics. From sharp minds come sharp products.
Thank you very much for joining us again this week on Computer Insider. I saw a rather interesting story which should be of interest to you. It has to do with a new system that Kodak has introduced into the marketplace. Basically, you would take your camera, go out and shoot your film just like you do now, take that finished film to a photo processor who would then develop it just like they do now, but then they would take those images and scan them into their computer. After that, they would notify the local cable operator that your pictures are actually online and available, and then you'd be notified by some sort of electronic mail that the images were available online via the cable, so you could then see what they look like. Now, the pictures themselves would be awfully small, a thumbnail size, but you'd have the ability to click onto that picture and have it enlarged so you could see what the print looked like, maybe have some cropping done or enlargements or a number of prints made of that specific picture. At any rate, the critical issue here is that we're now at a point where we're going to see much more interaction between retailers and consumers. Let's say, for example, that you wanted to buy a new car. Who's to say that you shouldn't be able to phone down to your auto dealer and say, I want to have a red sort of car with 4 doors and whatever other options you want? Then they could assemble that car specifically as to what you want and make that image available to you online with all the specifications and pricing and whatnot. Maybe even tell you how much you can haggle with them over the price of it. Everything that we're doing today in terms of technology and consumer interaction is going to change. As we move through the last part of this decade, we're going to see a huge number of changes in the way we're able to purchase and pre-select the types of things that we want. I'm Bob Pritchard, Computer Insider.
Computer Insider's Industry Insights has been brought to you by QMS, Seamless Network Printing.
As we start to look at how people are using technology, we're starting to see an awful lot of changes coming about. It used to be not so long ago that people would do a set of architectural drawings and then go ahead and build a building. Today, consumers are demanding much more. They want to see what the finished product will look like, not only as a building or a house, but how it's going to fit into its local environment.
Drawings have long been a medium for designers and engineers to communicate a project's design. But drawings can leave non-technical audiences flat, without a complete understanding of a project. As three-dimensional CAD technology emerged, designers began to model in real-world terms, beginning in wireframe, then adding simple shading techniques to show dimension. Still, management and clients could not truly visualize the finished project. Now, Intergraph's rendering and animation technology makes visualizing your designs easy and effective, giving your firm a technological edge in a highly competitive marketplace. Presenting Model View from Intergraph, the leader in computer graphic systems. The power to render your revelations. Creating model view images begins with a 3D model designed with CAD software and brought into the model view environment. You begin composing images and scenes in Viewfinder. An array of camera and target commands provide total control over point of view, perspective, and time of day. Also in Viewfinder, you control lighting and begin charting a path for animated sequences. Model View provides 3 increasingly sophisticated levels of rendering. Use Viewfinder shading for a quick preview of your image. Quick Trace or scanline rendering is used to create images with surface features such as patterns, textures, and transparency. Model View ray traced images depict real-life qualities, translucency, shadows, and reflections. Audiences can visualize the true behavior of materials selected for a project long before it is built. Model View's Material Editor gives you unlimited control over the characteristics of every part of your image. A unique feature of Material Editor is the capability to define surface properties without regard for color or pattern. Then, using Pixie, you can explore any combination of colors and patterns in real time. This lets you generate many different design schemes without rendering each new option. Escher is one of Model View's most versatile tools for pixel-level editing and adjusting the distribution of color and contrast. Escher's many image processing features allow you to manipulate and fine-tune images to perfection. Scanned photographs can be incorporated with the model to add context and communicate the real-world setting of a project. This feature, called photo matching, is useful for architecture and civil engineering projects. The model can be viewed with remarkable realism, as it will appear on its future landscape. Backgrounds and skies can be added to the image. Models can even be composed with other renderings.
I remember when I was back at Fall Comdex in Las Vegas in '94, Bill Gates was talking about the changes that are happening in technology. The message he was trying to get out is that everything we've seen is going to accelerate. As much as Model View offers huge changes in the way we do things, it's just the beginning. There are huge opportunities coming in the future to put technology to work for us. Speaking about having your technology at work, we have our fax on demand system all set for you. All you have to do is dial into the first number you see on the screen. Remember, it's a fax system, so you should call from a fax machine if you're outside of the 416 area code, or if you're inside the 416 area code, you can have the fax routed to another fax machine. We'd also like to hear from you, to hear what you're doing with your computer and computer-based technology. So drop us a note down to our fax mailbox. That's the second number you see on the screen. We've been scanning a whole bunch of different software and hardware products that you'll be interested in. We're going to go hands-on with it next on Computer Insider.
If you want to attract more business, you've got to work together. We all have our own special visions of where we want to be and how we want to work, wherever we are. At AST, we build computers to meet your worldview with award-winning products, service, and support. From notebooks to super servers, AST Computer. You'll like the way we work.
Today's marketplace demands more information delivered faster than ever before. D-Link helps make that happen. D-Link manufactures network interfaces. D-Link connects computer systems with bridges and routers. D-Link writes network management software. D-Link manufactures computer networking and internetworking products to bring this world closer together. D-Link Corporation.
When John Nagy joined CompuServe, he was new at computing and an old hand on the mountain. He joined to get more out of his computer and more out of life. On CompuServe, as on the mountain, there was always something to discover, like the solution to a software problem that wasn't in the manual, or being one of the first to know about that special vacation spot and how to save time and money getting there. The mountain was a source of satisfaction he would never outgrow. In a way, a lot like CompuServe. For more information, call 1-800-554-4088. Start with the basics, news, travel, and encyclopedia, and more for just $8.95 a month. Then go beyond for free software and help with hardware and software problems. You'll get more out of your computer and more out of life. CompuServe, the information service you won't outgrow.
One of the comments we've been getting back from our fax-on-demand system is that we're not getting to enough software and hardware pieces in the marketplace to give you a good idea of some of the things that are going on. So every once in a while we're going to stop from our normal format and we're going to bring in 2 or 3 different items to look at and give you an idea about how they can help you as a computer user. The first one I wanted to talk about was the new Basics Electronic Cookbook, and basically this is a CD-ROM based package that has over 1,800 recipes in it. Now, what I liked about it was, because I'm not a gourmet cook by any stretch of the imagination, is that I could either go into the package and look at menus and various food dishes, or I could ask it to tell me about food groupings. In other words, if, let's say, I wanted to work with beef, for example, it would give me a whole series of recipes that would help me do that. Now, not only does it give you the recipes, but because we're talking multimedia CD-ROM, you have full motion video associated with some of the recipes, so you have an idea about what the dish will look like when it's finally finished. And trust me, if you're one of those part-time, well, even full-time, but not very good cooks, this is a package which will go a long way in helping you out. Also, by the way, aside from the 1800 recipes, it has the ability to print the information out and to help you look after your basic dietary needs. In other words, it's the all-in-one package that helps the amateur cook get the dinner on the table and have it look like something that everybody else would appreciate. Another idea that we were looking at was a thing called New Reality. It's from the Vivid 3D people. We met them at Comdex in '94. And basically what this device does is it finds the ambient sounds in our audio tracks and gives you a three-dimensional effect. Now, we thought this was a really good idea, and in fact, we did a fair amount of testing with it, and we thought it was a nice little add-in to your computer. Basically, the machine or the box gives you an input and an output, a number of selections on the front as to whether you're going to have mono or stereo input, and the depth of the center sound you'd have with the adjustments in the 3D effect. What we initially thought would be a very good idea, it did present us with some very interesting problems. First of all, it has three adjustments on it: volume, center, and space. Now, when we first put it in, we had the volume at full power, and we started to get what I call a fair amount of distortion. We noticed it on our home theater rather than in the computer system. At any rate, what you have to do when you're setting up the unit is to make sure that the volume is flat. In other words, when you're using the system, that you have a certain audio level, adjust the box, you get that same audio level, so it's not increasing the sound and the distortion. We also found that by moving the center around, it became a little disturbing for us. Overall, we thought it was a great add-in product for our computer because typically we don't have the high audiophile requirements on the computer that you would have in the home stereo. Being a glutton for punishment, I plugged the device into my home stereo, which has got a couple of clip speakers on it and a 35-inch television, and initially everybody really liked it, but over a period of time we came to the conclusion that it really wasn't a good add-in. Nothing is wrong with the unit per se, but it is designed for your computer. The manufacturers, by the way, are working on a device that will work well with your home theater. And a side note, whatever you do, don't try and record this stuff on audio tape because we've not been able to come back with satisfactory results when playing back the tapes. The third product I wanted to talk to you about is called Crossword Plus. Now, the big advantage, if you're a crossword fanatic, is that by doing it on a computer, should you become stuck, well, you have the ability to get various levels of help from inside the computer help functions so that you'll be able to solve the puzzle. Now, people like my mother who do the crosswords in indelible ink typically wouldn't be happy with that kind of approach, but for them, they have another thing. It gives you the ability to build your own crossword puzzle. So possibly you could sit down and work out some very intricate clues and words and have the computer assemble them into a simple package or a simple program of crosswords that you can pass among your friends and share with them. Speaking about things that are interactive, we have our news ready for you on our fax on demand system. To gain access, all you have to do is call the first number on the screen, and that will take you right through to our fax on demand system. And don't forget, we'd like to hear from you to find out what you're doing with your computer-based system, because we know how important it is that you stay in control of what's happening and let us know what's happening. Coming up, we're going to be meeting with Stan Thompson, who's going to tell us about how control data transformed itself from being a mainframe manufacturer to being a consulting firm on Computer Insider.
Only Sharp presentation systems deliver the winning combination. Don't miss your next opportunity. Get the Sharp Edge. From a family of incredibly vivid computer projection panels to our convergence-free LCD projectors, you too can have multimedia presentation power like never before. Up to 16 million colors in computer, video, or combined. Sharp presentation systems and you, the winning combination.
Two days until the presentation. Plenty of time to pull it all together.
Hi, Marcy. Sorry, the deadline moved up 24 hours. See you in the morning.
Looks like a long night ahead. With her AST computer, she'll make it on time. AST computers in support for a winning performance. From notebooks to super servers, AST Computer. You'll like the way we work.
When John Nagy joined CompuServe, he was new at computing and an old hand on the mountain. He joined to get more out of his computer and more out of life. On CompuServe, as on the mountain, there was always something to discover, like the solution to a software problem that wasn't in the manual, or being one of the first to know about that special vacation spot and how to save time and money getting there. The mountain was a source of satisfaction he would never outgrow, in a way a lot like CompuServe. For more information, call 1-800-554-4088. Start with the basics, news, travel, and encyclopedia, and more for just $8.95 a month. Then go beyond for free software and help with hardware and software problems. You'll get more out of your computer and more out of life. CompuServe, the information service you won't outgrow.
One of the most difficult things in computer technology is a database. It's an application that sorts, controls, and looks after our information for us. What makes it difficult is in the past you had to be pretty much a computer programmer to be able to use one. But now that we have the Windows operating environment, database programming has become much easier. It gives us the ability to have the program, the operating environment, look after a lot of things for us. Actually, today, I wanted to go online with Access and show you just how easily we can build a program or a database structure for you on Computer Insider. One of the important things I wanted to remind you about in talking about databases is that there are what they call flat databases and relational databases. A flat database basically is just a one-dimensional database, where a relational database gives us the ability to work with many different files or tables at the same time. This package is Access. It's what we call a relational database. And I want to give you both a little bit of a discussion about database structure and also about how to use databases. So what we've done here is we've set up an icon to tell us that we want to build a new database. And what we're going to do is we're going to click on the new button, which is right up over here, and it's going to go into the system and help us make a database. And I thought we'd make it a personal database so that you'll have an idea of how to categorize, let's say, all of your New Year's resolutions or whatever it is you want to work on. First thing we want to do is when we get inside here is we're going to select the personal options, and in this file box in here we have all the different kinds of databases that can be built through a wizard for us in Access. And what we're going to do down is select one, and that's the home inventory package we have. This box in here are what we call fields, in other words pieces of information that fall within the table itself. We can select either one of these by clicking on a button over here, or on the double arrow button we select all of the fields, and basically because it's faster we'll just select all of the fields so that we can step through this procedure. Now across the bottom here are various buttons that we can push on that help us make decisions about how to build the database, because I know and you know that database structure is somewhat difficult. So rather than trying to become a rocket scientist or a propeller head overnight, Microsoft has built within the system various buttons to help us make the databases for us. We've clicked on the button. It has now automatically finished building the database for us, and it's taken us over to a screen. Up here, there's our field, so that we can start to put data into the database itself. Now, putting in database in that sort of spreadsheet look is a little bit on the boring side. So we're going to go into the Forms Builder, select our wizard. First thing, of course, we have to tell it what table we are going to be using, and that's what we just selected. We'll use the wizard and have the wizard build for us a data entry form. Now what we're going to do with this, and it's going to give us put a name up in here eventually, is we're going to go and tell the system we want it to handle all the detail work, because again, we're not all rocket scientists. So what it's doing here now is it's coming up with the types of forms that are available, and we'll select the bottom one here, which is called Auto Form. And that means that the software itself will make decisions about where the fields and whatnot lie. And there you have it. Do you want to edit it? No problem. Up over in here, we're going to get a menu bar coming in. And what we're going to do is click on the design form, which is going to change all of this and put line, well, there it is. We can now move these fields around just like that, back and forth, anywhere we want to put them on the screen. Database management, from my perspective, is the fundamental thing of computers, and you should take time to learn something about it. Anyway, let's go back over to the studio and talk about the technical side of this. The easiest way to get a handle on using a relational database or any software package is to sit down and work with it every day. 30 minutes a day, and you'd be surprised how quickly you get positive results. Speaking about positive results, we have our Facts on Demand system all set for you with the latest industry news. And also, we'd like to hear from you, so drop us a note to our fax mailbox, the second number on the screen. Coming up, we're going to find out about a systems integration company called Control Data. Meet with Stan Thompson right here on Computer Insider.
Only sharp presentation systems deliver the winning combination. Don't miss your next opportunity. Get the sharp edge. From a family of incredibly vivid computer projection panels to our convergence-free LCD projectors, you too can have multimedia presentation power like never before. Up to 16 million colors in computer, video, or combined. Sharp presentation systems and you, the winning combination.
Today's marketplace demands more information delivered faster than ever before. D-Link helps make that happen. D-Link manufactures network interfaces. D-Link connects computer systems with bridges and routers. D-Link writes network management software. D-Link manufactures computer networking and internetworking products to bring this world closer together. D-Link Corporation. Computer Insider is brought to you by Maxell. Every Maxell computer product is 100% tested, certified, and guaranteed for life to ensure that your precious data will be completely safe. Maxell, always a generation ahead.
One of the most interesting aspects of the computer industry is the fact that it changes so quickly. In fact, it's changing so quickly, most of us can't keep up with what's going on inside the computer industry. One of the companies that ran into a rather serious problem in the 80s is a company called Control Data. They were what you would call a mainframe manufacturer, competing with IBM and other large box manufacturers. As they got through the 80s, they recognized themselves that they would have to make some rather serious changes in order to compete through the last part of the 80s and through the 90s. Today we're going to meet with Stan Thompson, who works with Control Data here in Canada. And Stan, I was wondering if you could tell us, right off the top, we talk about Control Data as being an integrator. What is an integrator?
Yes, a systems integrator assembles a lot of both computing and communications equipment into networks. In our particular case, we build standards-based open systems infrastructure on a global basis for companies that are attempting to implement what we're calling electronic commerce.
Stan, could you tell us what you mean by electronic commerce?
Electronic commerce you can divide into two major categories, I think. One category would refer to businesses or corporations, and the other piece would be, I would call it domestic, would apply to individuals. We're not in the part of the electronic commerce business that relates to individuals. Examples of that, though, are automated teller machines in the Interact network in Canada, for example, or the sorts of services that cable TV companies are bringing into your living room. The kind of things that we're doing are enabling companies to conduct their business affairs from the desktop without the use of paper and pencils, and interact with other divisions or departments within their company on a global basis, and also intra-company, so company-to-company kind of business.
Maybe, Stan, very briefly, you could tell us a little bit about what Control Data is.
Control Data builds global electronic networks that allow companies to conduct their business affairs both inter and intra-company.
These expressions sometimes are a little bit confusing for us. Maybe you could take a few seconds and explain what you mean by intra, when you're talking about these technologies.
Yeah, a good example is companies traditionally have grown up in a vertical smokestack, if you will, and there's a big demand these days for divisions or departments within companies to talk to each other, and that's called horizontal integration, and we enable that with global networks using computer and communications technology.
We've talked about a number of different aspects about Control Data. Maybe you could tell us in your own words about the re-engineering of the company itself.
Control Data started out in the 1950s as a proprietary computer builder. The move to standards-based open systems eroded that market very quickly, and particularly in the scientific area. Control Data recognized early then that they had to re-engineer themselves and put the valuable distribution and support organization that we had worldwide to some other use. The company recognized the move to standards-based open systems and is now integrating products from a variety of leading vendors of products.
Thank you very much, Stan. Stan Thompson is with Control Data here in Canada. Actually, it was quite interesting. I had an opportunity to visit their world headquarters in Minneapolis, and while I was down there, I found out some rather interesting facts. First of all, when you have a company like Control Data who's out working with many manufacturers doing many different sorts of things, they've developed quite an expertise internally dealing with very specific vertical markets like the car industry. In fact, as we go through time, these experts may be more valuable to the company than some of the other projects that many of us have been working on. Speaking about valued projects, we have our Fax on Demand system all set for you. That's the first number on the screen. Remember, it's a free service, a freebie from Computer Insider, if you will. If you're outside of the 416 area code, it's best that you dial in from your fax machine and have the information sent back down your fax line. As always, we'd like to hear from you to find out what you're doing with computers, what you find interesting and maybe not so interesting, so that we'll be able to tune our shows to meet your needs in the marketplace. Coming up, should we be looking at integrated software or standalone packages on Computer Insider?
This top marketing executive prepares himself for the demands of today's business with his new Sharp electronic organizer. He has accelerated to the top through careful planning and organization, but he doesn't keep it all in his head. Instead, his competitive advantage is at hand. Always with him, ready with the information most needed, and sometimes with what's needed most. Sharp electronic organizers.
If you want to attract more business, you've got to work together. We all have our own special visions of where we want to be and how we want to work, wherever we are. At AST, we build computers to meet your worldview with award-winning products, service, and support. From notebooks to super servers, AST Computer. You'll like the way we work.
One of the most antagonizing debates we've had in a number of years is whether or not consumers should be using integrated software packages which have a word processor and a spreadsheet and communications and maybe some data management all incorporated into one package, or whether or not you should be using standalone packages. So you'd buy a word processor and you'd buy a database and you'd buy a spreadsheet, and then they'd try and work together with each other. Up until the introduction of Windows 3.0, most people had felt that for the novice user it was really quite a bit easier just to take the integrated package because the command structure would be similar. With the introduction of Windows, we found a common interface so that every application had a similar command structure to every other application. So in other words, if you used a word processor from one company and then used their spreadsheet or somebody else's spreadsheet, that the commands that allowed you to access the functions within the applications would be similar. Now, also with the Windows level, we've seen quite a change happen in the way applications are bundled. We're seeing a various Office suites coming out from Microsoft and Smart Suite from Lotus, and WordPerfect has a suite of packages. So basically, you can buy all of one person's packaging or all of another person's packaging. In other words, they suddenly become like an integrated package using Windows as the interface. I remember way back when I first started using computers how we would have really loved to have had that kind of integration. But unfortunately, packages didn't speak to each other very well, and if you were using somebody's word processor, generally it was a good idea to use their spreadsheet. As we move through the 90s, a lot of people are still looking at integrated packages, primarily to save money. Personally, I think if I had the resources, I'd go to standalone applications because they tend to be more robust, have more functionality, and hopefully will let you be more powerful with what you do with the computer. I'm Bob Pritchard. This is Computer Insider.
Computer Insider has been brought to you by AST Computer. You'll like the way we work. Sharp Electronics. From sharp minds come sharp products.